In this video, I'm going to show you 2 fruit tree guild examples that I've got growing in my garden. I'm going to show you a 2-year-old guild so you have an idea of what a fruit tree guild looks like as it's developing, and I'm also going to show you an example of a first-year fruit tree guild so you have an idea of what guilds can look like as you're getting them up and going. That said, if you're not familiar, just a quick rundown on guilds. In general, fruit tree guilds are a way to grow perennial polycultures in your garden. And when you're looking at planting a fruit tree guild, you want to look at what your priorities are. So are you trying to maximize food production? Are you trying to maximize health of the tree? Are you trying to maximize wildlife support, native plant restoration? All of those things. But for the most part, I'd say most people, if you're like me, are trying to maximize food production and plant support. And so you're going to look at how a planting is supporting a guild. So you're going to have different layers. You're going to have the canopy layer, the lower tree layer, the shrub layer, the vining layer, which kind of grows up the shrub, lower tree, and canopy layer, the herbaceous layer, ground cover layer, and then root crops. You'll also want to consider the functions different plants can serve in these layers in your food forest. So you might have plants that you can chop and drop as mulch. You might have pollinator attractors, pest repellents, deterrers, ground covers, wildlife supporters, and or food, medicine, tea, etc. So you want to look at what you're trying to invite into the area and where the weaknesses are. So I'll give you some examples so that you can kind of strengthen your own plantings. I'll start this off by saying I'm no expert by any means, but luckily nature seems to be fairly forgiving. So if you take anything from this video, please just start experimenting. Just try stuff. Don't get too overwhelmed or lost in the weeds with all these rules or all these plantings people just dish out. There are a lot of different ways to build a guild, and it all depends on what you're looking for, what your needs are, what the planting site needs are, etc. So let's take a look at my first fruit tree guild. This is a 2-year-old guild centered around a peach tree that I don't know will ever give me fruit. I don't know what the variety is. My grandpa just started it from seed and gave it to me, so it's very special to me in that way. Everything around this peach tree was direct sowed except for the asparagus, which I planted as crowns, and the juneberry, which I planted as a seedling. The peach tree is serving as the overstory for this guild, so it's going to be taking up the most sun and providing shade on the plants below. Again, I don't know if it's going to give me any fruit because it was given to me by my grandparents. I don't know what variety it is. Underneath the peach tree, we've got oregano as a ground cover to help with weeds and also as a pest deterrent. As it's got a very strong scent, it could potentially repel bugs that I don't want on my peach tree. I've also got in the taller part of the herbaceous layer here some wild bergamot or bee balm. It helps bring in native bees. It's absolutely covered in bees constantly as it blossoms, and it attracts beneficial wasps for continued pest production for the peach tree. Underneath the peach tree in the herbaceous / root crop layer, I've got some asparagus. It was on the sunniest edge, but now it's probably pushing the sun requirements as I ended up having to modify this bed greatly and ended up adding a dwarf juneberry, which will likely shade the asparagus out at some point. So I'll probably have to move that. And this is where I say you're probably going to make mistakes. Just start planting. You can always adjust later. Probably shouldn't have put the asparagus here, but I needed somewhere to put it. This was the best place, and now it's not, so it's got to move. For the asparagus is planted near some calendula, which hasn't blossomed yet, but the calendula will help repel beetles and things that might eat my asparagus. That's pretty cool. And then we have that dwarf juneberry / serviceberry. It's a Nelson juneberry. It is a naturally dwarfing variety that'll grow to about 5 feet. It'll serve as the shrub layer and as a food source and pollinator attractor in the spring. Also in this guild, we have an annual, which is dill. It self-seeds. It's providing a lovely herbal yield, as well as I think it looks especially beautiful against the bright purple of the bee balm. Also is attracting beneficial insects and repelling and deterring pests. So I'm really happy that it's here. Also dispersed throughout this bed, you'll see calendula and radish, which both are kind of here to fill in any gaps and also to use as an annual mulch while I'm working on figuring out what kind of perennial mulch plant I might want to add in. So that is this peach tree guild. It's definitely got some gaps in it. It probably needs some nitrogen fixers, some more plants to have intertwined in there for chop and drop. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the way that this guild is playing out. It seems really happy and healthy and strong, aside from the asparagus, which is going to need moved. So that is my about 2-year-old guild. Now let's move into my medlar tree guild. Here is my medlar tree guild. This is a first-year guild that needs more development. I hope to get some more plants in the fall and spring, but it starts with the breda giant medlar tree that I got from Burnt Ridge Nursery. It's going to serve as the overstory in this, and I actually hope to possibly train it in an arch-like form over the pathway. I don't know if that's going to be possible. However, it's going to provide early blooms for bee food and late storage food for me in the late fall and winter. So it's kind of filling a gap of food production that other fruit producers will not. So I like that it fills that gap. Underneath that medlar tree, we got the lower canopy layer of black locust. It's got a ton of black locust runners around it, which I did not plant, but I guess I'm just going to have to enjoy the benefits. When I first planted this medlar tree, there wasn't nearly as many black locust runners and they weren't tall enough. So the medlar tree did get nibbled, and that's why it's caged. But since these big spiky black locust runners have popped up around it, I've had no issue here with wildlife nibbles. I don't love all the places these black locust runners popped up. Many are in pathways, but I'll wait until winter to chop and drop to prevent even more from popping up. Again, while I didn't plant them here, another pro is that they are really, really great at feeding the soil as a nitrogen fixer. So I basically got a bunch of free nitrogen fixers in the area supporting my fruit producers. And they're also really great for biomass for chop and drop. So that's really, really nice to just have that right here. I don't have to walk too far in the garden to get it. It's just really conveniently next to the plants that I'm going to need to put them around. Next to different black locust volunteers, on the northern and eastern side of the medlar tree, I've got trentberry bushes. This is a very new to me plant. It's a blueberry huckleberry hybrid berry bush. It's supposed to be less finicky than actual blueberries and huckleberries, but we'll see. I'm experimenting with them, and they're in lots of different places of my garden. So far, I'm learning that they like a lot more shade than I would think, and they're serving as the shrub layer of the guild. So I've got a canopy, lower canopy, and shrub layer all in this guild. Finally, next to one of the trentberries, I've got a corn plant, which is serving as my one and only herbaceous plant in this guild. I don't have the heart to pull it, so I use the leaves for biomass and mulch at the end of the season, and hopefully if it grows corn, I'll let the squirrel enjoy the benefits of the corn that it sowed. So there's a lot of gaps in this guild. I'd like to add another food shrub on the southern edge of this guild, maybe possibly a hascap because it will get a little bit more sun. But I'm missing root crops, ground cover, herbaceous plants, and vining plants, so I've got a lot of voids to fill. Now, you don't have to fill every single layer in a food forest, but these are opportunities for me to consider, which takes me to there are some gaps in the functions of the plants too. We do have the black locust, which is a heavy lifter in fixing nitrogen in the soil, providing biomass for mulch, attracting pollinators, and deterring animals from munching on vulnerable plants with its thorns. The medlar and trentberries are providing food, but we're missing the ground cover function, the pest repeller functions, and there definitely could be some more medicinal and edible plants in this planting. So I'm considering in the future planting strawberry or ground cover raspberry to fill in at the ground cover layer. I also am planning on sowing nodding pink onion as an addition to the herbaceous food layer as a pollinator supporter and as a continued pest deterrent. It's also a native, so it's going to add that benefit to supporting the native plant population in my garden. I've also got dill self-seeding in other beds, as you've seen, but I don't have any in this one yet, and I find it to be an excellent deterrent and nursery crop, so I'd like to seed some of that in here too. And finally, I'm a sucker for flowers, so I want to do some research and add in some flowers that will fill in the blooming gaps after early and late spring. So those are the guilds that I wanted to show you that I've got growing in my Zone 6B garden. If you've got any tips or ideas on what I could add to make them better, I'd love to hear them in the comment section down below. If you found this video entertaining or helpful, please give it a big thumbs up. If you want more content like this around gardening, hit the subscribe button. And this is Zone 6B Gardening signing off.